Yeah. Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Let's get it. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam. John on the mic, very flat too. Keep you updated, that's what we do. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam.
Yo, what to do, everybody? It's your boy, John Altidor, Pro Fan Sports Podcast, back at you with another one of my boys, Vlad, Barry, and today we got two special guests in the house, hosts of Untold Patriots Stories Podcast, and, this guy's a Patriots historian as well, Bob Hyldburg and Scott Prusak. Welcome to the show, guys. How you doing?
Good. How you doing? Thank you for having us.
Awesome, John and Vlad and Barry. Great to be here.
Yes, sir.
Same here. Thanks for guys for coming on and joining us tonight. We appreciate it. It's good to have you guys on. So we appreciate you guys for coming on with us tonight.
Yeah, we appreciate being here.
Absolutely, man. I know you guys follow the show, and, as you know, we have a lot of people come on here that are reporters, that are on shows and things like that, but rarely do we have guys that are truly historian of the Patriots. I know you guys have been doing some stuff, doing Patriots work for a long time. Tell the people about your podcast and, how'd you guys come about?
All right, Scott, you come up with the idea, so we'll start with Scott.
Okay. So I met Bob, I think we figured it to be, 7 years ago, Bob?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
And, if there's another big Patriots fan, a fan, I should say, that's a bigger Patriots fan than me, it's Bob. So we kind of formed a friendship. Bob worked for the NFL, and I would go to a lot of Patriot games, and I would see Bob there. And again, the relationship kept growing. He's the Pat's historian, obviously, and I was a big Patriots fan at the time. I did a lot of autograph signings with current and past Patriots, and we were talking for a long time about taking the people that, we've met over time and starting a podcast to hear stories, because the story that I say is that when I had season tickets, I got them back in '94 when they hired Parcells. And, I tell my son this all the time. If somebody would have told me back in 1994 that the players that I was watching on the field, one day I would become friends with and be able to pick up the phone and call or text or whatever, I would have told you were crazy, because, I was a super fan, and you're watching them, and you never think you'll get close enough to talk to them or, become friends with them. And my son grabbed my phone one day. He's looking at the numbers, and he goes, "Dad, how do you know this guy? How do you know that guy?" I'm like, "Because, I did signings with them and, met him, and, we became friends." So we talked and talked. I mean, we must have talked about it, Bob, for 2 years, talking about doing it.
Yeah, with the COVID, it was a little bit tough and trying to figure out how we were going to put it together and what list of names you had and I had and how do we do this thing. And we just said, hey, let's just throw it out there and see what happens.
Time to stop talking about it. Not two guys that really don't know much about podcasts, but I do a little bit of editing now. And, we got an intro for our podcast. But I will say, and Bob knows this. So Bob put out a second book. And he called me one day because I said, I want to get a copy of it and I want you to autograph it. So he says to me, he goes, yeah, well, I go, why don't we meet for breakfast? So we meet for breakfast. Now, I didn't know anything about this. So we were sitting there and he gives me the book and he signs it and he goes, look at this. And he actually put me in the, what do you call that section, Bob?
The acknowledgement section.
Yeah. And I actually kind of filled up. I mean, I was like, that was a big honor for me. Not to say that, me and Bob have become very close, but just to be in that book, meant a lot to me. And then, we started doing this and we're starting to get some momentum, getting the word out. We're getting some downloads. We've had some really good interviews, but I'm glad we decided to stop talking about it and doing it. And, that leads to us being on the show with you. So it's all good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the idea you guys got is really good, and it's something that's needed because, as we were talking earlier on in the show before we started recording, a lot of these guys, they retire from the league and pretty much are forgotten about, especially if they didn't have, Hall of Fame careers and things like that. So for you guys to be putting a spotlight on them, it's pretty cool, and we're following them. I know you guys also have an event coming up in the next year in January.
Yeah, so one of the things that I've done over the last 20 so years is kind of do some life coaching and trying to kind of help people with anxiety issues and dealing with businesses and leadership and management and communication. So one of the reasons that Scott and I kind of put this together is that we wanted to kind of share how professional athletes, media people like Fitzy and Jerry Thornton and Trenny and a bunch of other people, how did they reach that elite level, and what obstacles did they have to overcome to get there? So part of this Untold Patriot Stories is bringing back the obstacles that these guys run into when they were in high school, college, after football or whatever. And so on January 24th, we're going to do an event with one of the Patriots Hall of Famers, Steve Nelson, at the Emblem 120 over in Woburn Village from 5:30 to 7:30. So we got a nice sponsor. We're going to have food and beverages, and we'll do kind of a question and answer, talk about his career, and then he'll be there to sign autographs and post pictures and stuff like that. So I've done some of these before with some of the players, and Nellie's just the next one. So the January 24th, you got to contact the Woburn Chamber of Commerce to get tickets. But it should be a huge event. And, Nellie's just a great guy, because not only was a Patriots Hall of Famer and had his number retired, but he was a coach for a long time. His dad was a coach. So there's a lot of wisdom that he can share with people with just how to get through life and how to overcome disappointments, and what his mindset is and what his kind of rules for life are and stuff like that. So that's my part of what I want to bring out is, share stuff that people like, how did they do that? And what's the mindset, and what are they grateful for? And, all that kind of stuff. And maybe people get something out of it they can use in their own life.
Absolutely, man. So Untold Patriots Stories podcast by these two guys, for our listeners, make sure you guys are following those guys as well. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, man, know
what's coming. Know what's coming now.
Listen, guys, Vlad, Barry, and myself, we've been watching the Patriots for a long time.
Yeah.
All right. But I think most of our adult life, we've seen very successful teams.
Yeah.
You guys are the historians, and I'm sure you guys have seen ups and downs, for the Patriots. But on Sunday, I don't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Me either. I don't think any of us know.
It's just, ever since Tom Brady left, it's just been down the hill. And I think Sunday against the Raiders is probably one of the worst games I've ever seen the Patriots play. Have you guys seen anything like that? And what are your thoughts on that? What the hell is going on?
So here's the deal, right? So I've thought about it, because we're actually going to be doing a podcast probably tomorrow night about the game. But if you think about it, think back to the beginning of the year when all the reports started coming out of training camp, which me and Bob went to a bunch of them. But think about all the reports that started coming out of training camp. So it starts before then, right? So the decision to hire Matt Patricia and hire Joe Judge. Now, I said this the other night with Greg Bedard. I got season tickets in '94. So I saw when they hired Parcells, and then the whole thing started to change. If somebody ever told me, it's like you're living in the Bizarro Patriots world. If you watch Seinfeld, remember the Bizarro. He had all the friends that were the exact opposites of the friends that he had. When did you ever think that Bill Belichick would say that the right thing to do and the best thing I do what's best for the team is to hire a guy in Matt Patricia, who took the Detroit Lions organization to its knees, right? Told the reporter to sit up straight and show respect at a press conference. He ruins that franchise. So we'll bring him in to be the offensive coordinator. He's never done anything with an offense, but he's going to be our offensive coordinator. Then the second best decision that you think you can make for the team is to bring in Joe Judge, who ruined the quarterback for the Giants, right? And bring him in and then let them battle it out to see who's going to take the offense, right? There's no discipline. I just heard a stat today that do you know that the Patriots are the only team in the NFL, and I didn't realize this until I just heard it today. They're the only team in the NFL without a fourth quarter touchdown pass, and we're, 15 games into the year?
Wow.
Whoa, what?
I
Yep.
didn't realize that.
Whoa.
The only team in the NFL without a fourth quarter touchdown pass. Their defense
Are you kidding me? Wow.
Their defense has scored more touchdowns than their offense.
That's insane. Oh my God, that's astonishing. Oh my goodness.
So, the way I look at the game Sunday is that was the microcosm of the year that it's been, and that showed everything that the team has shown all year. And then I can tell you, my thought is, and Greg Bedard shared the same thought, the wheels are going to start coming off pretty quick. Guys are blaming other people. Belichick in his press conference said he couldn't have thrown it 55 yards. Then Mac Jones comes out on his press conference and says, I could have thrown it that far. When in a Patriots organization have you seen the stuff that we've seen this year? Players coming out in the media and calling out coaches and nothing being done about it. Wes Welker just didn't play for the first quarter because he said something about feet.
Yeah,
right?
I remember that. Yeah, foot soldiers. Yeah.
And now players are coming out and challenging the coaches and everything else, and Belichick's letting it go. He's lost complete control of the team, and it's only going to get worse from here. And people are going to start pointing fingers. This could be the ugliest we've seen it, and if they don't make changes, there's going to be problems.
Since Pete Carroll, when Pete Carroll came in as the rah-rah guy, and it's like, we can do this, and then he had a really solid team, and took him to 8-8, and it was like, we got to make a change, And even Belichick, his first year, only won 5 games. I go back to the '60s, when we had a team in 1970 that won 2 games, and then 73 we won 3 games, and in the 80s, we had a really solid team. In 81, 82, we were pathetic. And 91, 92, we win 1 or 2 games. We're not that bad, but we're pretty close. This was one of the worst games ever, with so many simple things that high school players know not to do,
Yeah, I mean, Scott just touched on something. He's saying that Bill Belichick has lost total control. And, there's been reports, on the NFL Network that, there's going to be a prominent coach that's going to be stepping down or something at some point this year. Could you guys think that could really be Belichick?
I don't know if it'll be Belichick. I don't see Kraft firing him. I mean, he still has done and accomplished what he has. I don't think they would fire him. Now, would they put it out there that he's 70 years old, right? At this point, what value is he adding to the team right now? He's not the Bill Belichick he was. There's reports that the coaching staff isn't putting in as much time as they used to, right? That's the other baffling thing. No days off, and yet with all the problems they have, and they're giving the players more time off. After that brutal loss they had, I think it was Buffalo, I think, he gave them extra days off. When has Belichick ever rewarded the play like that with days off? I mean, nothing in this year. You can take everything that's happened, and if you can tell me if you can tell me in the 20 years that Belichick's been here, when those kind of things have happened before, they've never happened. He's never allowed that stuff to go on. So I don't think they'd fire him. Now, would they float out there that, hey, if somebody wants to trade for him, we'll take some picks, because then that way it takes the Crafts off the coals, because they didn't fire him, right? They traded him. So that's how they can kind of save face, like what happened with the whole Brady thing. They can save face and say, oh, we didn't fire him, we traded him. So I don't think he would step down. I mean, he has his kids on the coaching staff. He lives down in the vineyard. I mean, he has everything set up the way he wants it. Why would he walk away?
Yeah, true. That last play, the worst play I've seen. Oh yeah, Patriots game. With that said, the players don't usually go off script like that. I've never seen a Patriots team where the players just do things on their own. You know, Ramondre Stevenson came out and said that, you know, he took full responsibility. Jacoby said he took full responsibility. Mac Jones said he took full responsibility. Do you guys think the players were freelancing out there, or was that something that Patricia put out there like, hey, you know, if this happens, you guys think that was completely a player thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Patricia. As bad as Patricia is, I don't think he could have called that play. There's no way. But I was sitting on the couch and I was looking. I turned around for a second. I see him throwing the ball, and I'm like, so of all people, you're throwing it to a guy that can't get around the edge on a sweep, and you're gonna throw. What did they think he was gonna run the ball back 60 yards and beat people for a touchdown?
You throw it to the most unathletic player on the field, you know, 60 yards out, you know.
And instead, there's a picture of him getting trucked by Chandler Jones, of all people, an expatriate, right? Just to put even more salt on the wound. But, I mean, did you see the picture? He just, like, gave him a stiff arm and trucked him and just kept going. He actually made T-shirts out in Las Vegas. It's a T-shirt of him with Mac Jones on the ground.
I would, too. I mean,
right, exactly. I don't blame him.
Why wouldn't you? You know, speaking of Mac Jones, admittedly, I've been a Mac Jones guy since before he got drafted. You know, and he's obviously regressed this year. You know, with everything they got going on around him, plus Matt Patricia and Joe Judge doing whatever they're doing. My question to you guys is: do you guys think Mac Jones is the guy, or do we need to reinvest in that position?
They're going to draft another quarterback. They draft one every year. This was an amazingly bad year. I mean, this was his worst performance in a while, but he's not throwing any interceptions. So he's throwing it into the ground. He's overthrowing it. He's not got some of the fundamentals. He's not getting time to throw. And he's still relatively young, you know. So I think you give him some time. You give him some guys to throw to. I mean, who was that? Hunter Henry, a touchdown pass. You know, I mean, you know, those kind of plays and that, you know, play against Jonathan Jones is the guy's foot in and not foot in. I mean, these are really obscure catches, not catches. It's just the karma that's coming around. I mean, we had a good run for a while, and then the whole country hated us. And now they're laughing at us. That's just kind of how it happens, you know. Then the Chicago Bears in '85, you know, they were 17-1. They smoked us, and they couldn't come back. It took them a long time, you know, and they haven't been the same. So who knows? You know, every time we beat a team in a big game like Seattle or Atlanta, they never come back. Maybe it's our time to just get that karma coming back that we beat so many teams. Now it's time for us to fall in the abyss for a while, you know. Who knows?
So let me ask. So I can tell you this: you want to know a quarterback that has more touchdown passes than Mac Jones? When I tell you the name, you're probably gonna. It'll just show you. Think of a quarterback in the NFL that's had a lot of issues, and he has more touchdown passes than Mac Jones right now.
Russell Wilson,
Baker Mayfield.
Holy shit!
Jesus.
So does that answer your question?
Oh my God.
So here's the thing with Mac Jones, right? So it's kind of like a two-sided coin. So first thing is, how could you expect him not to regress when you give him the clown show that you've given him, right? I mean, who's going to get better with Matt Patricia as your offensive coordinator, right?
Nobody.
If you notice, like, they never really talk on the sidelines. When Mac Jones goes to the sidelines, when Josh McDaniels is around, Josh McDaniels would be attached to him, right? Mm-hmm. You don't really see that now. Now, you have seen it lately, but that's a Bob Kraft talking to whatever network it is and saying, hey, listen, can you do me a favor and throw some shots in of Mac Jones with Matt Patricia because of the rift that's going on right now, right? So my thing with Mac Jones is that he's taken it upon himself to be bigger than the team, and he's not that good to be able to do that, right? Showing up to coaches, you know, the hands up in the air, the, you know, just
frustration. Sure.
The
Right.
F-bombs, right.
right, but just disrespect for the coaches that he has, and he hasn't earned that right yet. He's a second-year guy, right? No matter how bad the coaches are, do what your coaches tell you, right? No matter how bad you can't publicly put it on view for everybody to see that you're trying to big time everybody when you're not that good. You're not winning a game for us, right? If we get down by 10, turn the TV off because we're not coming back, right? So, I mean, how can you do that? And I think that at this point, one or two things has to happen. So Belichick is gone, whether he gets traded or steps down or whatever. But I think you've seen a big rift in the Belichick-Mac Jones relationship that I don't think can be fixed. You're seeing it now. He can't throw it 50 yards, and then Mac comes on and says, "Oh, I can throw it 50 yards." I think that's a relationship now that I think both parties are just waiting for the year to be over. If Belichick knows in his head that he's going to trade Mac Jones at the end of the year, you got to play out the remaining games. But you can see it. There's definitely tension between them. At no point has Belichick come out and endorsed him. Mac Jones is throwing everybody in the coaching staff under the bus. I think one of the two of them will not be here next year. And if I had to say who it is, it's going to be Mac Jones. He will not. I think if anything, did you guys see the embrace at the end of the game with Josh McDaniels and him?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think that was? Hi, how you doing? That was Mac. Don't worry about it. I'm going to get you out of there next year.
Oh wow.
Oh, gee.
I mean,
So Mac Jones gonna go to Vegas for next year and play for the Raiders?
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
He's not. I'll tell you, Josh McDaniels isn't a Derek Carr fan, and like I said, that embrace. Did you see Belichick standing off the side and almost glaring at the two of them?
Yeah.
And they talked for a little while.
Yep.
It was.
That wasn't just a hey, good game, pat them on the back, and then they both run their separate ways. There was a little bit more to that conversation.
Wow.
That's crazy. I didn't even think of that.
Crazy right there.
That's a good point.
I mean, with that said right there, there's also been rumors about a certain legend, maybe taking a phone call to see if he could show himself back up here.
Don't get me aggravated. Don't even get me fired up on that one because I don't. The way he left, he gave a big FU to the fans and the franchise. I don't want to see him back either. He's not the answer. If you watched him the other night, he's not the answer either.
So you wouldn't take him back?
That's a no.
Nope.
Oh,
nope.
Bob, you too? You're not.
Bob, what you thinking, man?
We don't have any weapons. Who's he going to throw it to? Unless you get 4 or 5 guys, I mean, he had Gronk and Evans and Brown. I mean, he had some talent when he won it. Tampa had a decent team. We don't have a good team. We got like 4 good players.
So how do we fix this team if our quarterback is not good, our coaches our offensive coaches at least are not good? I mean, how does this team move forward?
They got a lot of money to spend next year, so we got to bring in about 20 guys, and hopefully 5 or 6 of them turn into, at least, hopefully Matt Judon, finishes the season with a little bit of a run here. But we got, a few guys that we can build off of, and the running attack is good, but we need about 10 or 12 guys to really get this thing going and then have the proper coaching. So it's going to take some money and it's going to take some luck. I mean, you bring in Jonnu Smith, who we're paying a huge amount of money, and he doesn't even know how to line up, God.
So let me ask you, I'll turn it around. Let me ask you guys this, right? So in all honesty, right now, when you say, what do you think it's going to take to start this all over again, right? I think you'd have to look at it's time to start over again. That's what the coach and everybody, right? So each one of you guys, do you want, sitting here tonight, do you feel like Belichick is still the guy that can turn the franchise around, make good draft picks? Luckily, this year saved him on the draft pick. I mean, it kind of helped him a little bit. But do you think he can make the good draft picks? Do you think he can sign the right free agents? Because his free agent history isn't that good, right? Like Bob just said, Jonnu Smith, right? Hunter Henry, who was a good player with the Chargers, right? He hardly ever sees the end zone, and that's another thing. Belichick came out in the press conference when they said they had trouble in the end zone, right? He said, well, we didn't have Hunter Henry. Is Hunter Henry catching a touchdown pass every week that I missed? I
don't know. I'm not.
He's not a big offensive weapon, right? So the other stat that I heard too, and I don't know the number on this one, but the Los Angeles Raiders didn't have. I got to try to remember this. They didn't have a stop on any plays in the red zone. The Patriots were the first team, I think. I'd have to go back and figure.
Inside the 5-yard line, at the goal line, they were 100%. Every time the team got the ball inside the goal line or inside the 5, they scored a touchdown.
Except your New England Patriots, right? So
bingo, yep. It's just us.
I guess that's what I would ask you guys. Do you guys still have the confidence that Belichick is committed as he is he as committed as he ever was? Because if he was, you can't tell me that the decisions he made this year for a guy that always said, I'm going to do what's right for the team. There's no way that you sit down and say that what he did this year is right for the team. So can he draft right, sign the right free agents, and turn the team around after what you've seen the last 2 years? Do any one of you guys think he's still the Bill Belichick that we had when we had Brady?
I mean, I'm a big Bill Belichick fan. You know, I respect everything he's done. But I feel like, you know, as you're aging, you probably want to do less, you know, as far as the responsibilities on the team. And it seems like he's trying to take on more, and he's wearing himself thin out there. And you know, I think he's too stuck in his ways, man. And, you know,
ego.
He has a huge ego, you know, and I still think, you know, if he gets fired today, a lot of the other teams are going to line up to, you know, shot.
Yep.
At the same time, you know, I think he's not really doing the right things for the team right now.
So when you say that, one of the things that got said was that the belief right now is, and he even said, he goes, I just want to coach guys that I want to be with. I want to coach guys that I like or work with or whatever. So the common belief is that it stopped becoming what I'm going to do what's best for the team, and now the last couple of years it's been I'm going to do what's best for Bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
exactly. Facts.
You know, I really don't want him here, you know, trying to get that record. I actually want to win. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
Facts. We all do, John. I hear you. We all want to win and being a playoff contender. And you know, go ahead, Vlad.
No, I would say that, you know, after the Cam Newton year, I thought last year was a step in the right direction with drafting Mac Jones. Mac Jones was playing better. We made it to the playoff. Although we didn't win any meaningful games, we still made it to the playoffs and lost the first game. But I thought we were moving in the right direction. Absolutely. It wasn't until Josh McDaniels was gone, and now Bill decided to give the offense to somebody that's never coached the offense, and now the team is plummeting down and Mike Jones is regressing. So I still thought Bill, you know, could bring the team to get better every year. But I don't know. I mean, my answer is I still think he can do that, but you have to surround yourself with great coaches, as he's always had his whole career. I mean, you can't just give the offense to somebody that's never coached the offense before, and you see the results.
A good coach is a good coach, though. I know somebody said that. I think Bill Belichick said that. a good coach is a good coach, right? He's proved that wrong. He's proved that wrong this year. I can tell you that.
But I think a good coach is a good coach, but those are not good coaches. I mean,
exactly.
They've got. Both of those coaches have gone to other teams and wrecked those teams. Look at what the Giants are doing. Look at what Brian Daboll is doing with the Giants this year.
Yep.
You know, and you can just tell Joe Judge was not a good coach. And Patricia is the biggest arrogant coach there is, you know what I mean? So, like, a guy like that, you should never want to be around your team, honestly. So I think Bill just needs to find good coaches to surround himself, as he always had good coaches, and he'll be fine. I just think you just can't have. I mean, all summer everybody was saying, "What is going on with the Patriots coaches?" Everybody was saying that, and for some reason we all thought, it's Bill, it's gonna work out. It's Bill, it's gonna work out. No, it wasn't gonna work out, and it's not working out. So.
Well, let's go back to the first game. So they played Miami, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know about if you guys felt the same way, but you heard all this talk during the year, and then now I feel totally different now. But back then you were like, you know what? Belichick's pulling the wool over everybody's eyes. They're going to come out the first game of the year, and they're going to be scoring touchdowns left and right, and everybody's going to be saying, "See, Belichick knew what he was doing." So they come out. I think if I remember right, it was the first drive of the game, and I think they got a touchdown, right? Something like that.
No,
I believe so. Right.
No, they got an interception.
Was it?
Oh, yeah, no, it was
They threw an interception.
Right. It was a pick.
They walked their way down the field, and Mac Jones threw the ball to Parker.
Yeah.
Okay.
And got intercepted.
But they did go. But I think they did go up. They did go up in that game, though. They had a drive where they marched down the field.
They did.
Later.
And I remember sitting there going, "God damn it, freaking Belichick did it again." And then after that, that was the end of that.
That was the only good thing that happened this year, probably.
Yeah.
Pretty much. To answer your question, Scott, I think that it's getting to a point where I think we all, the organization has to consider getting Belichick to step down as the GM and getting someone else to be the director of player personnel, or to at least help and assist him while, with that, similar to what, Nick Cassera was doing when he was here. I know obviously he's in Houston now, but they got to bring someone in to help him with that, because as we know, there's just too much on his plate and he's not able to handle it. Like, I still think as bad of a coach as he and that coaching staff has been this year, I, wouldn't just let go of him just yet, because I can't really think of or don't really know of anybody else that, is capable of being able to, or, the coaches team that have confidence and trust and that can come in and do a better job and right the ship from a coaching standpoint. So I still think, you at least, give him a little bit more time, as a coach, but definitely as a GM, something's got to change with, the way that they build this roster. Like, I know he did a good job, last year with the draft. The last couple of drafts have, been better than, the previous ones before that. So he's certainly done a better good job of that, but he pretty much botched that free agency where he spent, what was it, like $166 million, or a lot of, we brought in a lot of players and spent a lot of money. Most of those players and guys haven't worked out, and I think we're starting to really see the, effects and impact from that now. The majority of those guys that he signed to, those contracts when they spent all that money a couple of off seasons ago haven't, really panned out as well as, he thought, and as well as, the team thought. They were going to, when they signed them. So, only a few of those guys have played well, but the rest of them, as we've named, or as, we said earlier, haven't really, done anything at all. So, hopefully, they can, right the ship, with this, upcoming, free agency. But, I mean, we can't really trust them, when it comes to, making signings and picking up guys in free agency, because, like, you're right, the history speaks for itself. It hasn't been very good, from that standpoint. So I think, and certainly you've got to make changes to this coaching staff. Like, we've got to see major changes to not only the roster, but to the coaching staff, because we can't bring the same staff back and have people in the same positions back for next year and expect that everything's just going to be okay and that you're going to be able to win, games and compete and get into the playoffs and do something when you get there, not just be one and done. So I think for now, he should, be the coach of this team, but I think that seat's getting an awfully lot warmer, and Kraft's, I think, gonna, really, do a lot more than intervene and really, put his foot down and hold, all these guys accountable, on the coaching staff and really, make some changes this offseason that need to be made.
Yep.
I mean, with that said right there, Kraft came out, I believe, maybe sometime last summer, and he said that, he's frustrated this team hasn't, made it to the playoffs. And the Patriots, they control their own fate right now. We got 3 games left. We got the Bengals, Dolphins, and Buffalo. 3 teams that are, winning teams. What do you guys think? Or do we lose the next 3 games? Or
all right, seriously, you just asked a question, right? Do you think the Patriots can keep up offensively with any one of those 3 teams right now?
Hell no.
Thank you, Beck.
I was hoping you'd tell me, give me some kind of hope here.
But
Marcus Jones scored his touchdown. I mean, we got a freaky guy scoring a touchdown. Who else are we going to pull off the defense to put on offense that we're going to surprise? And, Landon Roberts scored a touchdown a few years ago, a linebacker. I mean, all those freaky plays around, double lateral passes, reverses, all that kind of stuff. That's the only way that, we've been in the games is the defense is scoring touchdowns and special teams. Our offense can't score. We're going to lose 35-7, 42-7, and 21-0. These next 3-4 games. I don't see us even being competitive. I mean, the fans are going to go crazy. People are going to leave early. There's going to be booing. This is going to be a nightmare.
Bob, I was just going to say that the Cincinnati game is going to get ugly. There's going to be people booing. It's going to be over by halftime. And John, let me ask you, what have you seen in the last 2 to 3 weeks that makes you think?
We're big fans.
Yeah, the biggest that there are. But what have you seen in the last 3 weeks that would tell you that they have a shot to keep up with Cincinnati, Buffalo, and Miami? What glimmer of hope can you tell me that you've seen in the last couple of weeks that you could say that they would keep up with them offensively?
Man, this is the worst Patriots team I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
I've probably ever seen.
Worse than the Cam Newton year, John?
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, they were competitive.
I think, yes, absolutely. They are worse than the Cam Newton years, and that guy could barely throw it. But at least
you realize how bad that is?
At least he could use his legs, man. And
we got a running attack this year.
Great, man, at all this year, with the play calling. We barely throw the ball 10 yards down the field on, any given play. So I don't have any faith in this team, man. As much as I hate it, I think
it's horrible.
It is horrible, man. And we need to do something different really fast. And, like I said, no faith in this team whatsoever, man.
So here's a little joke to lighten it up. So with Cam Newton, they said that he could have had a better year if all the receivers had hands on their feet. All right, so I mean, we don't have to relive that. We don't have to relive that clown show last year. But no, I think the biggest surprise, and it goes with the coaching, is that every year with Belichick, there was always a plan for a player that they would let go or a coach that got let go, right?
Yeah.
So you think back to like J.C. Jackson last year. Every cornerback previous to that, when they would let one go, they had one that they weren't paying a lot of money. They felt like they were ready, so then you move on. Stephon Gilmore, they knew they had J.C. Jackson making not a lot of money, right? So it's Belichick always seemed to have that sense of when to move on from a player.
Yeah.
And when he did that, there was a plan behind it. Since Brady left, and it all started with Brady, when Brady left, they had absolutely zero plan. That's why they had to sign Cam Newton, who nobody wanted. So in every aspect, whether it's coaching, players, or whatever, since Brady, they had no plan. They had no backup plan for the people that were leaving. And I think that's the biggest shocker because, they talk about the Patriot way. This is how we do things. Okay, well, the Patriot way then really only was because you had Tom Brady. It wasn't the Patriot way. It was the Patriot way with Tom Brady. Because if you had a system that worked, we'd still be winning right now. right? We'd have that backup QB that we had. So,
See, we might as well call it the Brady way then.
yeah.
Yeah, might as well.
No.
Right, because you're right. It hasn't been that way since he's left. It certainly has not. So we might as well refer to it as the Tom Brady way, if that's the case.
It didn't make the playoffs last year, so we can say that. And the Brady way is not working in Tampa Bay right now either, but they probably make the playoffs.
It worked for 2 years though. They had a good 2-year run. I'll give them that.
Yeah, and he won a Super Bowl.
Won a championship. Yeah.
I think this is the last question for you guys.
I had one more, John.
Go ahead, and I'll ask the last question, Barry.
Now, Phil, this is a follow-up question from earlier. I wanted to ask y'all, since both of you guys have been, watching, the Patriots for an extremely long time. Was that the worst play that you guys had seen in Patriots history in all your years watching the Patriots? Have you seen anything worse or anything like that from this team?
Quick answer for me, and then I'll hand it over to Bob. Absolutely. I have never seen a play like that in my entire life, nor will I probably ever see that play again. So I'll turn it over to you, Bob.
So for some reason, I got on Facebook Live about an hour before the game, and I was just pontificating about the weird things that happen in Raiders games over the years. And only once have the Patriots had a double lateral that was successful. And it was in 1964, but it was on a pass play. So the quarterback threw it. The guy caught it, Jim Koklar. He lateraled to Gino Cappelletti, who ran another 15 yards, who lateraled to Ron Burton, the running back. So I'm telling this is the first double lateral successful in history. And here, 2 hours later, they're doing a double lateral after. And I was like, this isn't going to work, and it ends up being, the Las Vegas, miracle. It kind of relates to that kickoff return. But on a kickoff return, guys are all over the field. I mean, Chandler Jones is staring there, and he's like, I'm just kind of hanging out with Mac Jones at midfield. I'm not chasing the guy down. The guy's at the 30-yard line. I'm just standing there, and I was like, hey, it reminded me of James Worthy throwing it to Gerald Henderson. In the playoff game back in the 80s, Worthy didn't even know Henderson was there, and the Celtics come back and win that playoff game. And there was one other play that back in 1974, the Patriots had a running back called John Tarver. And John Tarver's on about the 10-yard line or 12-yard line, and he runs left, and there's nothing there, so he's backpedaling. He runs right, he's backpedaling, and he's at about the 1 foot line, and he's like, I'm not going anywhere. So he takes it and he flips it over his head into the end zone, figuring that, hey, I'm from the 1 yard line. I'll flip it over into the end zone. We'll get the ball at the 20-yard line. That's kind of what he thought.
Oh, God.
Oh, geez.
So that was in all the football folly. So, when you watch the NFL films and the worst plays in history, that was one of the Patriots, like, with the Barry Sanders, when he spun the guy around a little bit, it was one of those kind of, what is this guy thinking? So I was talking about that an hour before the game, the John Tarver throwing it over his head into the end zone, thinking that, they'll get the ball advanced. And then when Thornton and Fitzy and all these guys started mentioning, he's like, it takes John Tarver off the plate now. That wasn't the stupidest play in the history of the Patriots. That just was topped by Jacoby Myers. So this was one in how many games did they play? 1,000 games? Really, really freaky, but it's something that people are going to laugh at the Patriots. They're cheaters, and now they don't even know how to do a, backwards lateral and stuff. They'll be laughing about this for 20 and 30 years. This is going to be in every football highlight from now on. And those Super Bowls, we just got to grasp by our chest and say, hey, we won 6 of them, and yeah, we made some of the stupidest plays in the history. Yep. It beats the Colts, that fake punt thing. I mean, this was worse than that, I mean, it's just pathetic.
And the funny thing to remember is that, with that play, the game was tied, right?
Yeah.
We weren't trying to win the game, right? All we had to do was kneel down and we were going to overtime, right?
Just go down.
So those plays are made when you're losing and you're trying to get into the end zone to tie the game, not when the game's tied and you're trying to get into overtime, right?
No. Hey, what does Belichick always say? You lose more games. What does he say? What's he saying that you lose more games than you win or something like that. Is that insane?
Yeah, something like that. When you make
Something
mental
like that
errors,
sounds about right.
you play to lose rather than play to win. You know, you lose more games.
In the NFL are lost and won or something like that.
Yeah,
right. We know what you're saying.
I mean,
Yeah,
let's
it's crazy.
on a good note though.
Right.
For you two,
Oof, thank God. Thank God. Yes,
you know
thank
what?
God.
You know, as historians, what are the best games? Well, what is the best games you guys have seen? You know, as Patriots fans.
Go ahead, Bob.
When they were down 2 touchdowns to the Ravens in the playoffs and the element pass, that was pretty spectacular. You know, certainly I do a lot of public speaking and talk about the mental errors that the Atlanta Falcons made and how we took advantage of just about every mental error that Atlanta had in that playoff game. You know, with Hightower, no one's blocking him, and and Alan Branch getting the strip sack, and just all the things that happened. It was like 20 different things that had to happen right. 997 to 1 odds to come back in that game. But I think my favorite, especially with my wife watching, is the Malcolm Butler play. I mean that play, you run the ball, you give it a Lynch, and game's over. And they throw it to Malcolm Butler, and he catches the pass, and they go nuts, and we have a little bit more room, so we don't get a safety. And so those are my 3 that just come back and say, you know, we did something stupid. We weren't going to make the playoffs, but we won those games.
Well, you know, Matt Patricia took credit for that call, right, with Malcolm Butler.
Of course he did.
Yeah. No, he did. He said at a press conference in Detroit, he goes, "You know, I made that call." So for me,
I heard that. Yeah. I heard it.
So for me, I think personally, it's probably the one that started it all for me is Super Bowl 36, and for personal reasons, knowing a lot of the guys, I think that means even more to me. But I'll never forget. I saw them when they were winning against the Bears, and then they ended up getting crushed. When Vinatieri went to kick that field goal, I left the room because I said, I'm not going to watch this clang off the post or, to do a Charlie Brown or something. And, we end up losing the game. So I turned around. I didn't watch. I was listening. And when I turned around and they won, I just remember, I got kind of, a little emotional because you never thought, at that point, you'd never think you would have saw them win a Super Bowl. So for me, I think that means a lot. And then the last thing I'll say is you're not going to meet bigger fans than me and Bob. And, we talked a lot of negative stuff, but I just think it's the frustration of what we all are accustomed to and what we've all become accustomed to over the years that Belichick's been here. And to see just something this year that has just been a complete crap show. From beginning to end, I just, that's what's just frustrating and as a big fan to watch it and watch what's happening and nothing being done about it. It's hard to comprehend. So the best thing you can do, it's like therapy, right? This is therapy for me and Bob talking to you guys and getting the feelings out. Cause we want to win. We're a good franchise. Belichick is a great coach and, just like Brady, I'm not a fan of Brady's now, but I respect everything he did getting us to 6 Super Bowls, and I respect everything that Belichick did. But at some point, the past doesn't count anymore, and you got to look towards the future. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now.
I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Again, man, thank you guys for coming on. Bob and Scott from Untold Patriots Stories podcast. Can you tell the people how they can tap into your podcast?
Yep. Anywhere where you can get your podcast, iTunes, every platform, Buzzsprout. But yeah, anywhere you can download your podcast, give it a listen. I think you guys will enjoy it. We've had a lot of players, both, former, we had some newer players. We've had media people on, but I think if you listen to it, you'll like it. Follow us. And, we'd like to have you guys on the show. We'll have you on our podcast, and hopefully we can do something live together. But I've really enjoyed it. I can't thank you guys enough this is our first time being on another podcast, so it's kind of fun being on the other side. But really enjoyed meeting you guys tonight, and I think it was great. So I do want to make a commitment. I think we definitely have to have an end of the year podcast.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right.
Definitely, let's do it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, man, you guys are welcome to come back on anytime, man. And again, thank you guys so much for coming on, and good luck with your podcast. We're gonna be following you, and you guys are doing great things out there. So y'all have a good night. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, just anyone
have a
that's
good
on
night.
a Facebook group, join our Untold Patriot Stories Facebook group. We post a lot of stuff, not so much related to the podcast, but stories and little pictures, and we repost what you guys put. Barry put some stuff on Why We Love Boston. That's another Facebook group. You guys post away, share away on our platform there so that we can kind of share each other and build our audience out there and just tell more stories and bring some energy and some enthusiasm to people because, it's a professional football game. We lost to the Giants twice. We've lost to the Jets in a playoff game. So we've been there, man, how do we lose that? Yeah, they'll come back. We'll always be a fan. The first game I ever went to, we lost 44-16 against the Buffalo Bills. And I've been a fan since 1967, so I don't care. It's just the camaraderie and the friendships that you build with you guys and the fans and the people that we try to share this with. And, don't take it too seriously. It's only football.
All right, guys.
Thanks, fellas. Appreciate it. Thanks
All
for
right.
coming on. It was good having you guys on. So we appreciate the time and appreciate you guys being here. And Scott, it was a pleasure meeting you. And Bob, good seeing you as always, my
Pleasure
friend.
meeting all you guys. So we'll plug each other, give each other some plugs, and hopefully we'll all go on to great things. So thanks. It was a lot of fun tonight, guys. Really, it was.
It was. Absolutely.
Send some stuff out on January 24th, too, so that'd be cool.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely. Send us some stuff. We'll help you guys promote it and get it out there for sure.
Awesome. Go Pats.
Go Pats, guys. Happy holidays. Merry
Yeah,
Christmas.
you too.
Merry Christmas.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. There you have it, man. So that was Bob Hyldburg and Scott Prusak from the Untold Patriot Stories podcast. These guys have a lot of Untold Patriot stories. Like, the guy literally has, a history. He's a historian, for the NFL. So, we bring you guys, people that are in the know, people that are experts on the team. So make sure you guys follow them. Make sure you're following us on all social media platforms. We're at ProFanSports on everything except for Instagram, and that's at ProFans_sports. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel. You're sharing the videos. You're commenting, asking questions, whatever, man. We love to see it. It's the best way to support us. So until the next episode, man, we out of here.
Have a good week. See y'all next week. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.